It's a beautiful Sunday morning, and I thought I would give a backyard fall garden tour. As you can see, I still have some zinnias over here, and they look horrible on the bottom, but I have left them up because the birds and the pollinators have been enjoying them so much. It's really fun just to sit on this deck and watch the birds and see what little creatures come along to enjoy the flowers. I'm going to show you how awful they look at the bottom by going down here to the grass. As you can see, they're covered with powdery mildew. But guys, these are over 6 feet tall. These were giant zinnias. And I'm just letting the wildlife enjoy them. Everything in this triangle bed is falling over. It was all way too tall. Everything in here was tall. There was no layering whatsoever. If you're new to my channel, I rushed to get things planted like my elephant ears, and I just looked for open spaces. So I didn't give much thought to where things were this year. And as a result, everything was all tall in this bed. So let me come in here and show you one pretty thing that is getting crowded out, and that is the pink muley grass. I have 3 pink muley grass in here, and somehow it survived, and it's got clouds of beautiful seed heads. Isn't that gorgeous? I think it would be a lot thicker if it weren't shaded out. This is just a jungle of foliage, and I have my canna lilies across the back, and they also are a very bulky plant. These plants create a lot of biomass, by the way. If you're interested in composting, these are wonderful for the compost once they're through. And over here I have more powdery mildew on these beautiful zinnias, but again, the zinnias on the top are gorgeous, and the pollinators are enjoying them. That's why I have left some of these horrible looking plants up, including these very tall, giant, accidentally planted marigolds. I do have one short marigold, and that's the type I thought I was planting. But I ended up with these 5 foot tall mission marigolds right in the front of the border. Oh my goodness, this is a beautiful butterfly. It looks like it's smaller than a monarch. Not sure what kind that is. Some years the garden turns out the way you expect, and other years not so much. But the most important thing is that nature is enjoying it. And I have another set of elephant ears here, which I actually like where I planted them. Once they come out, I'm putting my peach tree seedling there though, so I will enjoy having that. But those come out for the winter. They can't stay in the ground when it's cold. So I do lift those later in October when night times get colder. But they look good there near the fence. So that's a better application of my elephant ears. I did start to clean up this border. I took out lots of dead squash vines over here in my produce garden. But I think this corner is looking a little bit neater. And I love my lamb's ear. I did a little short on how much I love my lamb's ear, how easy it is to spread around. And we had a season of first too much rain and then too little rain. And although they suffer during those periods, they did bounce back. So they're tough plants, and I love this silver blue foliage. And I have spread it to other parts of the garden. My miscanthus are sending up gorgeous plumes. They're called Autumn Anthem miscanthus. And I think it's because they have this beautiful, kind of rusty burgundy colored plume. They're beautiful, really beautiful. But this whole border is done pretty well, with the exception of my poor lilacs. At the end, they completely defoliated. It could have been the drought. First we had floods, then we had drought. But I have a little bit of confusion down here. This lilac is blooming. It's put up some blooms. I hope that's not because it's about to die. But look at that. It's supposed to be a spring bloomer, so that's puzzling me. But most of the leaves dropped off, so, you know, it's been stressed out. And I did leave up some of the tall rudbeckia, which is falling over. I left some of the seed heads here because the birds enjoy eating the seeds. They come along in the winter when there's not a lot of food, and they come and eat some of those seeds. So I throw them down to the ground, and I leave some of them standing to make sure the birds have plenty to eat. This is a bird-friendly garden. I am really pleased with the side garden, which I mostly transplanted plants into, and everything has taken. But I have a mixture of perennials and shrubs and a few edibles in my big black containers. But I'm really pleased with how everything survived and transplanted, and I think I'm going to be really happy with this garden next year. Got azaleas, hydrangeas, black-eyed Susans, daylilies, and of course I've got arborvitaes. So I think I have a nice mix of evergreens and shrubs, and this whole garden over here behind the giant elephant ears will get more sunshine when the elephant ears are gone, and they're all perennial flowers. I've got catmint and penstemon and coneflower, and I've got tiger lilies in the back. So I think it's going to be really nice. One thing that is blooming now that it's fall are these goldenrods. And they're kind of a messy looking plant, but look how pretty they are. And of course the bees just adore them. So I do let them bloom. They planted themselves, so they are a native wildflower. But I'm going to let them enjoy themselves in this perennial flower garden. They seem to come back every year. And this is such a shame. I came out here the other day to discover caterpillars munching on these rutabagas. And as you can see, they've turned the leaves into lace, absolute lace. And they left a lot of castings behind. But I'm hoping my rutabagas will make new leaves and I'll actually get a crop this year. But one of the edibles I've mixed in are snow peas. So every couple days I come out here and see what's available to pick, and by the end of the week I'll have a little serving of snow peas. My poor rustic garden bed all the way back here at the back of the property has been terribly neglected, and that's one reason why I have not shown it at all this year. But there is one pretty thing to show, and I'll just bring you over here, and it is a fall showstopper. I have this beautiful mum plant, chrysanthemum, and despite no attention, no water, really no sun, it has put on a bloom show. It's reliable every year, so I'm really happy I popped that in. It was probably in a container a few years ago, and I just popped it into my garden, and I am delighted to discover these blooms. Gosh, this container is so gorgeous. It is the Dusty Miller, and it is so beautiful. I grew it from seed last year, and it overwintered. Even flowered and gave me a bunch of seed this year, which I have trimmed those off. And it is just a stunning plant, which I hope will overwinter again. I think it will depend on how cold things get this winter. I'm not sure if it's a biennial or a perennial, but it did overwinter for me last year, and I was thrilled. And this is just a little grouping of topiaries and containers I have back here. Next to my path, it comes up to my polytunnel. And everything there is doing pretty well. And they are all evergreens, so I'll be able to enjoy that throughout the winter. After showing you the wild and crazy parts of my garden, I can show you my very organized, newly planted polytunnel beds. And they have been planted with fall crops. Many of them can tolerate some light frosts. So I'll show you what those are. These zinnias were cuttings that I took earlier in the year, which I'm enjoying now, and I'm so glad I learned how to do that this year. It's very easy, but they are still adding some nice color up here. And they're so bright I can even see them from the house. But in this bed I have garlic across the front. I pre-sprouted some garlic bulbs, separated them out, planted them in here. And I have collard greens all across here. And then across the back I have beans, which will die back when the frost comes. But even if there's not time for them to produce green beans, they will add nitrogen to the soil. So that bed is looking neat and organized and all planted up. And then this bed, I still have all of my kale covered up. And I have some Swiss chard. Let me show you how well the kale is doing. Now you saw my rutabagas all eaten up. So I've been guarding these with these Dollar Tree baskets, because kale are also very susceptible. So hopefully in another week or two we'll have fewer of the moths laying their eggs, and I can uncover these beautiful kale plants. And then I do have some, I think these are turnips growing. I just had seeded those out. So there's a few turnips mixed in throughout, and we'll see if they come to anything. But I do have a beautiful red Swiss chard back here, which is just lovely. And again, some more green beans, which will die back when the frost comes. So they will either give me green beans or green manure, or both. But I'm happy to show you some manicured beds after showing you some of the messy things I've left up for the wildlife. And my peach tree that I grew from a pit, planted in that pot last November or October, it was last fall, has grown to about 5 feet, and I'm going to be transplanting that into the ground down in the long border on the side of my deck. So I think it'll be happy there and get some nice sun, and it won't have to overwinter in that pot. Hey guys, I accidentally ended up with 2 Seminole pumpkins. I had one vine, which was supposed to be butternut squash, that came up and grew these 2 beauties. And I'm pretty sure they're Seminole pumpkins. They're very orange. The shape really looks like a Seminole pumpkin, but I'm excited to have them. And by far, this was the most pest-resistant vine in my garden. So I'm going to actually go out of my way next year to order Seminole pumpkin seeds. I won't be saving anything from these, any of the seed, because I'm pretty sure they would have cross-pollinated with some of the other squashes in my garden. But isn't that a fun surprise? Here's a quick peek at my compost operation back here. I use Geobins. I'll put a link in the description in case you're interested in setting these up. It's pretty easy. But this time of year, of course, you're ripping out a lot in your gardens, and there's a lot of leaves. So my bins have been filling up, and the microbes and worms have been regularly reducing all of this debris. And hopefully this is going to provide me with some great compost to use next spring. Got to plan ahead. So as you can see, some parts of the garden look very manicured and some parts look very messy. But that's the nature of this time of year. You just have to decide what you want to chop back and what you want to leave and take it as it comes. I hope you're having fun in your fall gardens.